Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's session, the last session of 4 for test automation using UiPath Test Suite. And if you go to the next slide. So tonight we have Atul, who's been bringing us through all these sessions. I'm Diana Gray. I'm the Community Marketing Manager for the Americas. And if you go to the next slide. So again, just some house rules. I do want to just remind you that these are America Developed Community Sessions by MVPs in Canada, Latin America, and USA. In a couple of slides, I'll show you where our next developer session will happen. I just want to make sure that and encourage you to network with the MVPs, share your LinkedIn in the chat box. We really are interested in what topics you guys are interested in hearing about. So if there's anything out there like Marketplace or Orchestrator or document understanding, please just put it in the chat so that we know to cover that topic for you in further developer series topics and events. And then please place your, for right now, any questions you have in the chat. And we'll get to those as soon as we can. And if you go to the next slide. So there's a couple of things I want to draw to your attention to. There is a hyper hack. If you go to community.uipath.com, you'll see it on the banner. We would really like people to join this, or if you have people in your company who might be interested, this is a great way to participate with what UiPath is doing and really meet people as you showcase what you guys have been working on. So we'd love to see you join this. The timeline for this is just, I think, September 10th. So please think about joining this, and we'd love to have you. And if you go to the next slide. The other thing I wanted to bring your attention to is we did start the summer school programs tonight. We're starting, they're a 2-week session. So tomorrow's studio is starting. If you haven't, we had a really great session tonight with over 160 people in it. So please think about joining this if you have any questions about RPA or interested in watching. Again, our MVPs provide content to kind of help guide you on how to get started with RPA. And if you go to the next slide. So tonight, again, is our last session of this developer series. We'll have some additional series. I just want to really thank Atul and Shri for all their help in putting these sessions together. This was kind of our flagship topic that we started out with. So we're looking for many more exciting events to come throughout the coming months. And if you go to the next slide. So lastly, before I turn it over to Atul, is the next topic that we're going to be going through is REF framework. It's going to start on September 12th. So again, if you guys are interested in this topic, please sign up and register. And if you would rather have a different topic that you want us to promote and put together, then please just let me know. So with that, Atul, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Diana. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Atul Trikha, and as Diana mentioned, I am the speaker for today's last session for the test automation using the UiPath Test Suite. So if you're already following us, we have covered 3 sessions so far. Part 1 was all about the building blocks, starting from the very basics, what is software testing is, what are the different types, levels, and a 30,000 overview about the test suite. Then in the part 2, we went deep enough to see what are the different 4 components of test suites are. We covered UiPath Orchestrator, Test Manager, Robots, and Studio. And then in the last session, we actually did a hands-on exercise, a workshop around the different capabilities of test suite. We covered at a high level the web testing, web test automation of a web application. We did the Windows. We talked about Windows. We saw a video about the SAP testing, and then RPA testing. So those are the things which we covered in the last session, and we talked briefly, very high, at a high level, about the mobile testing also. So that concludes the everything that is there for the test suite. In today's session, we'll start with where we left off, because I don't want to keep things open in the last session during the end, when I was demonstrating the RPA testing. We were facing, I was facing some challenge. It was not running. So I would like to take 5 minutes to start from there. What was the issue was about, because that are the issues that you may face in your day-to-day automation challenges. Like when you start doing automation, those are the challenges that you may face. So I definitely want to cover that. What was the issue that I was facing in the last session? And if you can go back into the recording session, you will get a overview what I'm talking about. And from there, what I'll try to do is, this session is more about open discussions. Okay, so I'll try to wrap up where we left in the last meeting by giving like a use case or a user story, that how we can build, or we can use this UiPath Test Suite end to end. So I'll time box for 20 minutes, and then we will open it for discussions and any specific use case. By saying that, let me start with I will be juggling around the different screens. So let me start with what is the issue that we were facing. So in the last event, if you remember, we were trying to run a case here, and this is the RPA testing, right? Yeah. So let me go back here. So when we were trying to execute a test case here, and it was not running, it was failing at the step where I will have to create an account. So I'll tell you what was the issue at that time. If you will see here my workflow, this is a create new account process. So now it is again based upon your design, how you link all your workflow together. One suggestion I gave is, like, what I follow always is I create different small workflows for each of the functionality. And this is what exactly I was doing. First workflow is to get the app credentials. So basically, if you will go, it will fetch the credentials from the orchestrator. The second was to log into the UiPath Bank app. So now that was interesting. If you will see here, what I'm doing is I'm going to a website, UiPath Bank, enter the username, password, click on the sign in. And if you will see the argument, I am taking the out parameter of the current browser. Now, after this one, what I was trying to do is I was trying to, where is my create new process? I was trying to check a account type, if it is a checking or a saving account. If it is one of those account, I was going to the other account here, apply new account. And that was the issue. If you will see here, what I was trying to do is I was navigating to a particular URL called accounts, because I don't know where. Sometimes it is possible that you have not closed your application properly, or so I was trying to go to the accounts page to make sure that before I click on the apply for new account button, I'm on the right URL. But I'll show you what the issue with that approach is. And again, that will vary from your website to website. But let's say this is the UiPath Bank side. And if I click on sign in here, okay, so you are now into the accounts page. Okay, but let's say now I'm into some other page. And when I'm still logged into this page, right? But when I was using the navigate activity, what it was doing is it is taking into either a new session or something. But when the activity works by using the navigate, it was not carry forwarding the session, and it was actually basically starting from the logout button. So it was still able to find that button, but when I was clicking on the apply button, it was doing nothing. So let's see what it means. So let me log out again, and let's try to run this process again. And this is about verify, create new account process, verify new account creation using Excel. Okay. And we talked about two different approaches, whether you can use Excel or you can use entity. So I will be continue using the Excel approach. So let me run this process and start from here. So this is the one I want to use. And if you will see, like when you have created a test case using your test data, which is very important, then it gives you option that you want to run this test case with all the variation or a specific variations, right? And you can select that run file with the data variation. And in that case, it will ask you which different, these are the accounts that we have created in our Excel sheet. So now I can choose when I'm running this execution, what are the data set or the data variation I want to use. And this is just to demonstrate where we left. So I will just use one for the checking account and let's see, run here. So now it is logging into that credential. And now if you will see here, it is successfully able to create account. Now I will go into this. So this it is complete. But now if you will see here in create new account process, first thing is we were talking about the coverage, right? If you will see here, my coverage is showing green here. This is the very first thing we started when we in the last section. Why it is showing green here and why it is showing red here? Because what happened is when I'm using the data variation, if you have noticed, I have only provided a data variation of checking account. So when I'm running this test variation, I have never actually verified whether my workflow works with the saving account or not. And that is the reason when I'm using this one, it is not going through this path. And that is where the test coverage is not completed 100%. And that is where it is not showing this path is missed out in my variation. So what I want to do here is let me go back here and let's run this case again with both the options now. So this time I'm expecting that the coverage will be 100% because it is not going to go through both the route, checking as well as saving. So this is my first account, checking. And now it is going to run. And again, this is my design. I'm closing and starting from the scratch again. So you can design it where you don't want to close the app. But here I'm creating the saving account and now it is done and it should be pretty much all done. So if I'll go back into my account here, you will see that the coverage is 100%. Earlier it was 87% and the both paths are covered. So that is where we left. But now if you want to see what was the issue, so let me go back here. And this was if I open this particular account here, that is where the issue will start, because when it is navigating from the current browser to this navigation path, it will simply actually create a separate session or it will not show as a login user. And that was the issue. So I just simply commented that one because I was already using the current browser. So I don't need to go through that path actually. So that was the issue, but this demonstrates how the RPA testing works. You can simply create a process. This is my automation, and I can right click on that, create a test case, and then the test case will be created. When you are creating a test case here, you have multiple options to select your data set. You can definitely give your mocking, and in addition to that, you can add a test data that we have covered in the last session, that you can either use a file base, which is the most commonly used whether you are using Excel. But in this case, the challenge is if you want to add or delete variations, then you need to update all your files that are now coming here. So it's a little bit difficult to refresh or update your process. Then the new, which is with the data service, it provides a lot of integration. That is where it has a lot of advantages. But these are the three options, like file base, which is Excel, data service, and then auto generate. I'll not go into this one. This is still in experimental phase. But then if you have already used any of the existing, then it will automatically bring you that if you have already imported, use your test data previously. So then it will show you that particular test data. With that one, I will over this one for the RPA testing, but this was the issue and that is how it will be taken care. Now, let's go back to our use case here about the test automation. So I'll open the other one. Now, let's take a look into end-to-end. What is this whole test automation end-to-end works. So I'll start with a very brief example. Let's say I have developed an application here, and I'll take an example of again the UiPath Bank. So this is my application, and if you remember from the very first session, we have also talked about the shift left approach. In that case, we discussed about what if even the website is not available, right? What if the UX people have only UX team has only created an image of this website, right? So we can, using our computer vision, we can also use started strategizing or designing or developing our test cases based upon that image using the OCR. So that is we have covered in the session 1. But now let's say our test site is developed. We want to make sure that our login functionality is working. And what that login functionality means when I enter a username and a password, it should be, and click on sign in, I should be able to log into that application. So now let's say that what is the first step to do that, right? First step, when your functionality is there, your requirement is there. So we will be creating let me bring it here. And if you remember, we are using DevOps, Azure DevOps for our requirement. So here, if you will come here, what I have done is I have created couple of user stories. And what those user stories, I'll take an example of this one. Apply for loan functionality. And briefly covered in one of the sessions that by default, the test cases that we create are based upon the Bdd pattern, behavioral design pattern. And what basically that is, it is like based upon a given when then condition. So this is one of the examples that I follow whenever you have to create. This is mostly any business analyst will know what does that mean. But just giving a overview about that is, this is called a Bdd pattern. And in this, how you create your requirement is you specify that given as a role, like, I mean, as a user, as a UI bank user, when I click on apply for a new loan button under this particular section, then actually, let me go back. This is not the one I was going into login functionality. Yeah. So as a UI bank user means you have already registered into your this application. As a UI bank user, when I enter my registered credentials, I should be successfully able to log into that UiPath UI bank application. So a simple requirement here means I'm a registered user. I have my username and password. When I'm passing that into my UiPath bank application, then I should be successfully able to log into that application. So when I created this particular requirement, and if you talk, let me go back here. This is our orchestrator. This is our test manager. Right. So the moment we have created, because in session 2 and session 3, we also talked about how you can connect your test manager with the Azure DevOps. I have also shared the document. So the environment is same as we are carry forwarding from our previous sessions. So whenever I will create any stories here, if you will come here under my requirement, there are 3 stories here, right? So let's say I'm just to showcase that one more time. Anytime you create a story here or a requirement, for example, this is just a demo requirement. Okay. So when I click on save here, the moment I do that, it should be available under my test manager. So when I click on refresh here, see, this demo requirement is available now. So that is our first step, right? And in a normal use case, now my team has developed the website. I want to do automation for that process, and I want to create test cases so that my automation, I meet the requirement, because that is our end goal. If you remember about our second session, we talked about what is test management. Test management simply answer, are we ready to deploy, right? If we are ready to deploy, are we covering all the meeting all the expectations? How we are meeting all the expectations, whether we have all the functionality, we have developed all the functionality. If we have developed all the functionality, do we have enough test coverage? All those functionalities are working or not? And how we can answer that? We can answer that with the simple questions. How many test cases are passing? How many test cases are failing? And do we have 100% coverage? We saw that the how UiPath Test Suite can give you whether the coverage is complete or not. And that is what we started. Now we have covered everything. We have created a requirement here about login functionality. And now with that requirement, now let's go back here. So you started working on your automation, or in other case, you can also start directly with the test automation also. In this case, I am using, firstly, I am creating automation, which is about login page. So this is the login page I have created. This is the automation. Basically, what I'm doing in this one is I'm simply opening, and I'm using classic approach here, but I have an example here which I can show you how it works in the modern approach also. This is the example using the classic approach. But if I show you one example here, I'll find it in a minute if I have that one still ready. So let's see here. Yeah, verify new account created, but I'll show you that example later. So in this classic approach, what I'm simply using is I'm opening a browser, going into that particular URL, maximizing the window, inputting into username, password, and the password is a secure password, and click on that button, right? Simple, very simple automation. All I want to do is I have developed this functionality, and my requirement is if I'm passing the right set of credentials, I should be able to log in, right? That's it. This is the automation I created. Now you have two options here. You can right click and convert that into a test case, or you can simply create a test case based upon that, right? So what I did is I clicked on right click on create test case on that one. I'll cancel it for a minute. Now you will give it a name. Okay, and that is where I want to take the discussion just few minutes for another good point. There are various ways to name your test automation, but naming is very important when it comes to identify your test cases. I'll share two links here. One is let me show you here, and this is another link. So there are various, I mean, if you will simply search unit testing naming conventions, this is one of the 7 most popular unit testing naming convention, and you can go through all of them. I'll not go in this one, but there are various ways to do that, and everyone has some advantage. Some has like, I mean, they are outdated. But again, for example, one is like suggesting, okay, you should start with your method name and then start under what condition it is running and what is the expected behavior. A very common one. These all 7 are a very common one, but I personally prefer a simple one. This is the article that talks about what are the cons in using this approach. This what one article is. I really like this one because if you will read through all this one, it has summarized what is the challenge in doing that. We don't want to overcomplicate our naming conventions so that we don't even understand what exactly is working, right? So this article talks about a right way, a simple way, a straightforward way to not overcomplicate your naming convention, but also make it easy to understand and identify your test cases, right? So that is what I'm doing. One example is, for example, if I want to log in into, let me take it back here. Like example here, I have created my test cases. For example, here, login with a valid credential is success. Means if I am testing my login functionality, if I'm passing the valid credential, it should be a success. Similar way, I have created another test case which says that login with invalid credential and is failed. Basically, if I am passing invalid credential, then I should not be able to log into my credential. And similar way, if I have another test case which says that if I'm passing blank credentials, basically I'm not passing any credential, then I should get a message that credentials are required. So all you need to do is give a specific name to your test case, and you can use your naming convention as you feel comfortable with. But in the hands-out or at the end of the meeting, I will also share these two links. But you may give it a name, and then you specify your test data. So that's what I did it here. These are the 3 test cases I've created. Now, the requirement is talking only about, let me close these 2 links here for a minute. Okay, so the requirement here is only talking about, I should be only worried about the login functionality, right? I mean, if valid user pass, but as a good tester, you need to not only test the happy pass scenario, but you need to also make sure that in under the negative scenarios or under the testing regression and other testing type, you should be able to, the application should not crash. It should be gracefully either show a user message or like, I mean, gracefully display a message to the user what is wrong in the current like, I mean, path he has followed. So that is the reason, even though requirement is same, I have created 3 different test cases here. And how many test cases there are, there's always, you can debate on that. There are n number of test cases you can create here. For example, in one cases, I've only created one test case for credential required, right? But you can split it into 2. Like, what if the username is not missing? What if the password is blank, right? What if the both entries are not available, right? So there is no end on how many, practically you can always limit it, but it is only the creativity of a tester which can which through which he can decide how many test cases we want to create. For this example, I have created 3, one simple one with the valid credential, one with the invalid credential, and one if the credentials are passed. Now, another good point somebody asked in the previous session, how normally we take care of, there is always like in this case, what if I'm running all these 3 cases together, right? What will happen? The first test case will run an application, it will open the application. But what if this application is not closing that application, and I'm already in the login page? Let's say I decided, let's go back into this example to understand what I'm saying. Excuse me. Yeah. So this is the page. Let's say my test case is simple. I want to only test the login functionality, and my first test case is, it will open this browser, it will enter the username and a password and click on sign in, right? And then I can say that my first test case is passed. But in a practical example, if you will actually start working on this test automation, it will not end there, right? Your test case is passed. But what if the second test case is about to run with the negative or some with a different data variation or different scenarios? Now the application is already logged in, right? Now you can either design your test case in such a way that you start from here, right? You click on a logout button and then you start again, or you can create in such a way that you have 2 additional steps, any prerequisites or a cleanup. That's what is the pattern that I normally follow. What does that mean is, let's take a look into this one. Again, you don't need to follow. Whenever you create a test case, it will by default give you 3 sequences: given, when, then. Given is the section when you define your data. When is when you invoke or execute something. And then is when you are verifying that whether when you have given a set of user credential. In this particular case, let's talk about what is given. Given means when I am passing the right set of username and password, and how I'm getting, totally up to you. You can have in Excel, you can create a queue, you can get the data from data service. But when I'm passing the right set of credentials, and then when I'm invoking my login process, I want to make sure that when the application is successfully able to log in, the welcome message, this is again how I'm treating it as a pass. Means when I can see this element, welcome element, I'm treating my test case as pass. But in addition to what is given to me, I normally follow 2 additional steps. One is any prerequisite. Let's say I want to test the apply loan functionality, right? So in the prerequisite, I can always invoke a process here which will log in my application, because I already have tested my login flow here. So I don't want to repeat it again. So I can simply invoke my login functionality here. And in the cleanup, if you will see, what I normally do is I firstly, whenever the login process is successfully completed, I log out from that application and I close that application. Again, this is just my way of doing it. You don't need to follow that. By default, you will be get given when then. But normally when I create test cases, I add 2 more section here. One is the prerequisite, one is the cleanup. Prerequisite in this case is empty because I don't have anything. But if I will start doing the validating, like let's say verification of new account, that is where I will invoke my login functionality here. And then I will do the given when then, given the right set of account variables, invoking the apply new account, and then I will validate that loan ID has been created. And in the cleanup, I can always log out from that application and close the UI bank. so that the next time when my next test set starts, it doesn't fail or because my application is in a different state. So this is very important that you always stop your automation or testing in a state. Like if you will talk about that is the next session that we are coming in RE framework. If you will go through that, it talks about all the different inbuilt framework, like closing the application, killing the application, to make sure that the application always starts from a clean state. So that is all three test cases I have created. And once you have done that, all you need to do is right click on that and you need to click on link to the test manager. What it will do is once you do that, it will ask you, okay, which is the project that you have to link it with, what is the test case name you want to create, and then which requirement you want to link it with. So this is high level we have covered in the last meeting, but it is straightforward. Let's do that. I mean, so if I have created a new workflow here, the project, the moment you will start typing here, it will load down all the projects that are available. And these projects are coming from the test manager. And similar way, you will start typing on the test case if you want, and if you've already created your name and the requirement. And this is how you will create all your link, all your test cases with the test manager. And when you will come here in the test manager, now you will see all these test cases will be created and they all will be linked. For example, if you will see here, it will say that in the automation, this case is already linked with the Project Studio demo, and this is the test case it is linked with. You can always unlink and link it again, but that is where the test case has been created from Studio to the test manager. And if you want to do it manually, you can simply do and create your own step. But that is the test cases, all the test studio. We created the requirement, we automated the test case, and then we have linked our automation with the test manager. Now, the next thing you need to do is you can create your test case here. But another feature that I was like, I mean, this is recently introduced is linking with the orchestrator. What was that is, now let's say I have created all my test cases here. All you need to do is you have in test manager, you have just linked your automation, but you also need to publish your packages to the orchestrator. How you will do that? This is all my test cases. All you need to do is click on publish, and then what it will do is it will whatever your orchestrator is connected with, it is going to publish this package in your orchestrator, which I will show you here. So this is my orchestrator, and under my packages, if I'll go here, under my packages, where are my packages here? Oh yeah, so here packages. So this is when you will publish, you will see your package here. I've already covered how you can connect your robots. So in this particular example, I'm using the EC2 instance, which we have covered in the last meeting. And this in this one, let me go back here in the folders. My machines is already been created. If you will see, this is the machine we have discussed in the last meeting. This is the EC2 instance in AWS that is connected. And I've also created a user here, which is all set for me to run the execution here. So once you will publish your package, there is, if you will go into the default folder, under testing, what you need to do next is you need to actually go back to this one, and you need to create your process. So let me come here under testing. All I do is I click on the add test set. And what it will do is it will give you the package that you have just installed. So you will give it a name, and then you will select the package, and then it will let me give a temporary name here. I'll not create it, but then all the test cases that are available in that particular package will be available to you. And depending upon your test case, you can decide which package belongs to which logically grouping, how you want to logically group your test cases. In this one, we are testing the login functionality. So what I did is I have selected these three test cases, and I have under my this test case. If you will see here, these are the three test cases that I have added. So that is how you will create your, you will import your packages into Orchestrator. And now you have two ways. Either you can execute your cases. Also, just before that. So in this case, what I did is I have created a test set here. Coming back to the test manager, earlier you have to create your test case manually again here. But now with this new feature, there's a button here, or there's a link here. When you will click on that link, it will tell you, okay, these are the available test set that is already available in Orchestrator. all you need to do is just click on that and click on link, and that test set that you have created in Orchestrator will now available in your test manager also, and it will import all the test cases also as is. In this case, if you will see, all my test cases are available. So either you can create it here or there, but you can link those two test sets, and that it will be available both in Orchestrator as well as in your test manager also. After that, now you have the, so let me go back here in the test set. All you need to do is now you can click on here and execute your automation here. Once you will do that, what it will do is it will slowly run all your automation here, and it will also show, if you will come here under the test execution, it will start showing that, okay, you have started your execution from an external tool, and once the execution is passed, all it will, you can come and check your results here. For example, these are the test cases, all 3 test cases are passed. This is from the Orchestrator, and if you will see here, it will show you that or the value, the element that I'm looking for is exist. So all my test cases are passed. And if you will go back into your test manager, the same results will be available here also, that this is the functionality I have passed, I've ran, and all the 3 test cases got passed here. And if I'll go back to my dashboard, it will also show the same results. All the test cases have been passed, how much coverage we did, and everything that you can see from Orchestrator is now available from the test manager also. So this is a end-to-end integration, right from your creating a requirement to creating your automation, linking your test cases to test manager, publishing your test automation to Orchestrator, sorry, linking your test cases to test manager, publishing your test automation to the Orchestrator, and then executing it, and then basically overall then running it and analyzing your results and looking at the dashboard. Rest, whether it's web app automation, whether you're talking about Windows, you're talking about SAP, everything remains the same. You will create a test cases, you will logically group into test sets, execute your test automation and analyze the result. If everything is passing, everything looking green here, it means you have meet all the requirement and you are ready to go and deploy your application into production. So this is what I have end-to-end a use case for the test automation. Sorry, I like every time I always run over 10 minutes over my planned time, but I apologize for that. So I'll take a pause here, and we will now open for any questions that you have related to what we have covered in the last 4 parts, and any test cases or any specific test automation use case you are working on where we can help. And along with me, there are multiple MVPs in this call that may be able to answer. And I have Shri also, who will be, we all as a team will be taking your questions. So I'll take a pause here and over to anyone who has any questions, or Diana, how you want to move from here.
No, that's great. So if everybody can please unmute yourself and ask any questions you have about what we've been covering over the last several weeks. And as Atul mentioned, we have several people who can respond.
Hi, Atul. This is Priya here. I'll probably go first.
Definitely, Priya. Thank you so much for joining and giving a lot of support here for the UiPath community. Sure, go ahead with your question.
Anytime. I mean, thank you so much for explaining this in detail. And I've enjoyed like all 4 of your sessions so far. So it's been wonderful to learn this because UiPath is so wide. With this new test manager, I wondered, like, how did you manage, like when it comes to like production deployment, especially with like any kind of like tools like Jira or ServiceNow? Like most of the time we have like a release ticket, or like you have to apply for like a change management request, right?
Right.
So is there any like way to like connect these two?
Yes. Very good question. Thank you so much, Priya. So how we can do that? Like, I mean, this is briefly, I've shared one document in I think part 2, but what you need to do is, for example, here there are various ways you can integrate your different ALM tools. The 2 example which I have covered in my previous meeting is one using the Azure DevOps, and then using the Jira. I have just shared the document but it is both are very straightforward, but there are other connectors that are available, for example, ServiceNow here. And the process is almost similar. What we need to do here is, let's say in this example, you will click on the connection here and then provide the required details here. In the documentation I have covered from, for example, you may get into from where I will get this personal access token, what is the service URL. So those are the challenges that I personally faced when I started. That is the reason I have created those two documents, which will give you complete walkthrough about if you're planning to use for Azure DevOps or for the Jira. But very easy to do that. When you follow all these steps, you will be all set and you will be able to establish your connection between your test manager and the ALM tool. And for the CI/CD also, that is actually I've covered in chapter 3, part 3, but it is also very similar. You will go into that your project settings, and then you will walk through there. From here you will choose your project configurations, that is no test management, and then there are tools that are already available through which you will started doing. Actually it was through the extension. So yeah, so you will install the required extension and then you will take it from there. So but that is how those two documents should be able to guide you end to end. I have not covered service now, but I will be more than happy to create a document if you need that one. I have worked on that automation, but because as you have seen already, I'm always covering going beyond the time limit. So I have not included the service now, but I can definitely share that document with you also.
Again, thank you so much. I'm definitely, saving these videos for future implementations because, like, there's definitely, like you mentioned, there are a lot of intricate details that needs to be looked at. And obviously, like, especially if you're working in a larger organization, you might get like support from the teams that are like the Azure admins or like, the ServiceNow managers. So if you're working for a smaller company, I think you've got to figure it out yourself, which is where like those documents will be like very handy. Thank you so much, Atul.
Definitely. Thank you so very much, Priya, for all the support throughout this 4-part series. And I really thanks everyone for participating and having those questions, because that is the main challenge. If you will start looking, just do a simple search on Google, like, okay, test automation using UiPath Test Suite, you will get hundreds of videos. But the challenge where I face personally is, okay, how to connect all these bits and pieces, right? I mean, so that is where the challenge, main challenge starts. You will be able to create a test case, but how you want to connect to a test manager, how you want to work with the this one ServiceNow or different ALM tools. That is where I believe these sessions will be helpful. So, but thank you so much, Priya, for your question. Any other question that I can help with, or?
Any other questions?
So Atul, if no one's asking a question, I'll go again.
Definitely, Priya.
So for beginners, like that are like really like starting out with RPA to start with, like what are the courses on the UiPath Academy would you recommend? Because we are definitely going to watch your videos again, but for them to get the basics, what would you recommend?
So the RPA, let's go there. Actually, very good question. So let's see. I mean, and UiPath is great in doing, keep updating their course. So anytime if you go here, I always find new courses are getting added every day. So let me go here and let's start from there. So there are courses here. One is the RPA Starter. That is definitely, because even for the test automation, you need to know basic RPA rules, right? Even if you are doing the very basic starting from web recording, but you need to familiarize yourself with the studio. That is, without the studio, you cannot do anything. So a basic startup RPA starter course is definitely required, and we can see here difficulty beginner. And then there should be one case here for the where is that one? I always find.
Yeah, they revamped it. Like if you just use
Yeah,
that
they actually.
search.
Yeah, RPA. Let's do here. Getting started with RPA development, but it's the old one, 2020. So how about that one? I'll maybe I'll take a note for that one. And that is a great question, Priya. I think what I'll do is I'll suggest couple of like starting from beginning, what are the academic course that is required in contrast or in line with the test suite. But definitely this is a great question, and I will make a note and come up with that.
Yeah, could you send that
Thank
to
you.
us? Because I have the same question.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll definitely, this is my to-do list, and before I send all my handouts to Dinah, I'll make sure that I'll make a note of that also. But
Great,
this
thank
definitely, yeah. But if you are only outside the RPA, if I'm talking only about the test suite, simply search a test. One thing is RPA testing for Studio. This is a very good one. It covers mostly all the mocking and the test coverage, but this is for the test RPA testing. And then this is the application testing, which covers about the web. They also, I personally, in these all the four session, I could have used this different application. And the reason for using the UI bank application was that because if you are, like you mentioned, Priya, for the freshers, they want to go through these academic courses, right? Because we have 4 hours basically we have spent, but these courses itself, you will count like 2-3 hours and then 5. There are around more than 10 hours of materials available in academy. So you definitely want to go into each details. And if you will go into these particular courses, they are also using UI bank as an example. That is the reason I am also using the UI bank, so that you can relate what I'm covering in these sessions with the academy courses. But now, did I stop sharing? Sorry, let me start again. I don't know what I clicked. Okay, so yeah, then can you see my screen again?
Yes, Atul.
Okay, perfect. But for the test suite, these are all the courses that you're looking for. RPA testing, that is one important one that will cover your automation and RPA testing. Then application testing is one which we have focused more in the 4 sessions. But then again, you can come into the test manager, which will give you insight about test manager. And this is the one which will cover end-to-end test suite. And then one which is we have only covered at a high level. The reason I don't cover mobile device automation testing is because firstly, you need to have the APM tool installed, and then there is a lot of infrastructure related work that is required before I can demonstrate the mobile device automation. I did it long back, I think 4 or 5 months back. After that, I ran out of like commit the resources. But if you will go through all these, follow these courses, I think if everything is covered. One thing that is missing is the SAP, but in the testing. But like I was mentioning, SAP also follows the same principle what we are using for application testing. And then you can always go back and search for SAP here, which will give you a SAP automation course. And then you can follow that one and convert that into test. Exactly everything will remain same for what are the principle we followed for test. And all you need to do is use the SAP automation and then come back and follow those same principles of test automation in SAP also. But that should cover all anything related to the test automation part of it.
Atul,
So, yeah.
yeah, if you go to learning by role, there is RPA on the top. There's RPA Starter.
Oh
if you
yeah,
scroll
that
down.
is where I was missing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the one I was looking for. Yeah. So start with the RPA Starter. Once you do that, then you can come back to the courses and look for the test one, or I think there should be learning by test also here, Shri.
Yes,
Do we
yeah.
have?
There is test and there is a developer foundation. Which
Test
is going
developer
to,
foundation. Perfect.
yeah.
Let's see what are the curriculum under this one. Oh, it is a 48 hours one. Yeah. So you are all covered here. So meet the UiPath platform, a day with RPA developer, variables, controls. So I think this is already covering all the different ways for automation and then debugging. And let's say where it takes further exception handling, then it introduced RPA testing. So I think, Priya, this is the course we are looking for. And if that answers, thank you, Shri, for this one. But we are looking for under the learning by role, UiPath Test Developer Foundation. This is the course that I personally recommend. Again, this will go into deep. The first few if you will see the modules here are based upon the automation, but you need to know the automation before you start doing the test automation. But it will, if you are planning for starting the automation journey also, these are the one that will be repetitive here, but these are the foundation that will set the foundation, and then along the line here it will introduce the UiPath Test Suite to you. So Priya, I hope this answers the question, right? I mean, or
Yeah. Thank you so much, Atul. I think what you have laid out here is like a very good foundation. Like it gives us a very basic understanding of like what Test Suite is capable of. And I guess like for all the audience that has participated in this course can like take this up and like apply it to their processes and see like what other applications they can like run into like with testing. So thanks again.
You're most welcome, Priya. Really appreciate it again one more time. I'm getting a lot of support from everyone in the MVP family. So thanks for all your support, and thank you everyone for again. I apologize for running every time over the planned session, but I mean this is the beauty. This is still we have squeezed all this test automation in 4 sessions. But if you will start going into implementation, there is so many things that you can do. We have not even touched the intelligent automation. If you talk about that, what we have only covered a part of it in our very first demonstration using the OCR, right, the computer vision. But what if I also want to extend my capabilities using the document understanding, where I'm creating some very much right in an enterprise application like the one which we are working, me and Shri are working on. We generate a lot of documents using an application. So the transactions work fine, but at the end of that transaction, we generate a lot of documents. How you make sure that the data that is being displayed on the web application or application is the same data that is coming in your documents, right? So that is where you can extend your automation capabilities or your test automation capabilities and started using DU, and then start validating your test cases on your documents also against the application data. So there's no limit what the test suite is capable of, and that is where I personally like the test suite so much, because it not only helps in test automation, it gives you the test management, it gives you the automation capabilities also. So everything comes as part of one big umbrella that covers everything. So yeah, I mean, it's really when you will start working on this UiPath Test Suite, even the automation, there is the limit is all relies on the creativity that you holds. But otherwise, technically, there's no challenges. Even if there are some challenges, I'll show you. I mean, it is not like, I mean, like any software, there is always some challenges there, right? I mean, but the good thing, for example, I'll just show you one challenge, right? I mean, if you will see here in my requirements, let me go back here. There are few features, for example, the description. If you will see here, the text is coming in with all the HTML tags, right? But the good thing is, if you will open a ticket with UiPath, they will pretty much take your request on priority. Other thing is, like every month, if you are following the insight or the demo days, every time new features, tons of new features are coming. When I started back on the test automation back in, I believe 2019, even when it was not released, from that day till today, it is improving every day. So connector wise also, it was started with, I believe, Jira only. Then now we have Azure DevOps. Now we have so many others that we have seen. So even if there is any functionality or feature that is missing, go ahead and open that feature request. And if a lot of people are requesting for the same feature, UiPath is great in giving those features pretty much in a very short turnaround. So yeah, over to any other questions that I can take.
So Atul, this is Diana. I know this is a really hot topic right now. Are there any other resources that you can think of, or if they have additional questions, would you recommend them going to the forum and asking those questions?
Yes, definitely. Forums, UiPath forums are always a great way to resolve your issues, because a lot of like MVPs, team member, contributor, community people are always going there and trying to help other team members. So if I get stuck, first thing I always go is go and look for to the UiPath forms. And then there are so many active YouTubers, and Priya is one of them, who she always like make sure that all things are up to date. And Pradeep, and there are a lot of MVPs who are already up to date in keeping the materials. If you got stuck there are a lot of tons of YouTube materials from our MVPs that are available. And then if you still not able to find the answer, then you can always use another mentor mentee program. Let's say you are starting your test automation journey, and you want to have one-to-one meetings and understand the whole flow. You can always enroll in those mentor mentee program, where one of the MVP can work with you one-on-one to start your RPA journey. And at the fourth resort, if still not, Dinah has already shared her email. I can share my email, so you can directly reach out to me, or I mean, anything that you feel comfortable. We all are here in order to start or help you anywhere if you get stuck. Does that answer your question, Dinah?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So
See,
we'll
that
just,
is why, I mean, sorry, sorry to add, cut you off.
no,
But
go ahead.
one thing I like about, like, if you will take a use case of Microsoft, right? Why Microsoft becomes so popular, even with the Windows or even with the .NET, because of its community. And that is what I'm proud of, being a part of UiPath community, that the community is so strong, and it is so huge, that anytime you put a question, you post your question, within few minutes, if not hours, you'll get your answer, or somebody will be jump in to help you. So community is definitely one thing that makes UiPath stand out from other tool. Again, I'm not trying to sell it out. I'm telling from my personal experience. There's not a single case you got stuck there, you post your question, and somebody will right away jump here to answer your question. So that is what makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, and that what I've experienced in using UiPath.
And I'll definitely vouch for that as well. I'm not selling short here, but truly the community has been like wonderful. Especially if you're posting questions on forum, please feel free to use the tags. In this case, you can use the test suite tag or test manager, or whatever is available, and you can ask for help. And like, this is a global community. When we started, there were probably like 900 users, and now you're looking at like over I think like 700,000 or something.
Right.
And the community is like exponentially like growing day by day. And which is where like I love how everybody likes to like learn and grow together. And meeting wonderful people like this, it's truly amazing because people love to share their knowledge. So don't feel shy. Just post your questions, and no question is a silly question. There's always going to be like a learning curve when you have like silly questions. So feel free. And again, like being an MVP doesn't just like make us like you're expert in all the topics. Even we have questions. So we learn from your experiences. So that is a wonderful stage where you can post your questions. So always like use your forum.uipath.com as your backup plan. Any questions that you have, just use the search. Someone may have had that question already and it might have been answered. So your solution is probably out there already.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Totally agree with that. And again, like Priya mentioned, you will not get stuck in major thing. Like when you are trying to automate, you will get stuck in small places. How to do that, where you may not find a direct answer in any of those academy materials. That is where your path forms will be going to be really helpful. And every day is a learning. That's a very good point Priya mentioned about every day. I mean, even we are working from last 5 years on these products, but still every day is a new challenge. And I'll tell you a real example. Today, when I was talking with Shiri on one of the, we were trying something, and then we talked about, oh, how if I create this test set in Orchestrator, earlier this feature was not available. So then we found, oh yeah, there's a new feature here. Now you can link. I don't know from when, like this come pretty recently, but I mean, it is evolving every day. These products are getting evolving every day, and this is based upon the feedback that UiPath is getting from all the community and people like you and me. So that is what I mean. We also face challenges. Like in the last meeting, it was not working, and then we find the root cause. If you have the right attitude and ready to learn, we are here to help, and we are also a learner like you. We are also learning every day. But it's amazing when you share your experience, what you have learned with others. Things makes you feel definitely first, which I enjoy is I feel so good when I learn something new and when I share that knowledge with somebody else. And I think everyone sitting in here shares the same passion, and that is what we love about our community, about UiPath. So with that, I will take a pause again here, and over to you, Dinah. If we have no questions,
Sure.
you can share. Like, I mean, I'm more than willing to. There are so many platforms. We talked about forums. If you still need one-to-one meeting, you can have a mentor-mentee program. If you still want to go further, our emails are already available here, and then you can reach out to me, and Dinah or anyone here, and we'll be able to help you out.
Yeah, and just closing remarks are, this is our new developer series. So we want to hear from you if you want topics that we can discuss or research and bring to you. We'd love to do that. I also just want to thank Atul and Shri and Priya for joining these calls, and, being available to support everybody here. These forums are really designed for people to ask questions, bring their use cases, let us know kind of what you're struggling with so we can help guide you. So just remember that, again, this is our first developer session. We hope you join more. But if there's something that you definitely want to learn more about, or we can help out, we're happy to jump on a call and do sessions. That's not a problem. So thank you so much for joining this series. We really enjoyed it, and really enjoy supporting you guys out there. So thank you. And thank
Then
you, Atul.
sorry,
And Shri. Yeah.
then I just want to mention one more thing. Sorry, I'm sharing one topic here. So with the presentation, you will see I will be including these backup slides also. These are very helpful. So I've not covered that, but I mean, these are just moreover a read material. So if you want to go through that, these all material will be available. It will talk about basic couple of like understanding between the roles and responsibility using the test suite. It will give you a cover what from the business analyst, how it looks like from the developer and other people personas. And then I've also will be sharing this automation best practices, a brief comparison between test suite and Selenium. And then there will be further some slides that will walk you through about the best practices about RPA testing and the approach for testing. So these are self-explanatory. I don't need to go through. That's the reason I didn't walk through that, but you will see this one coming as part of your presentation slides. But if you have any questions, we can cover that also, and you can email me and Dinah for that.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.